Hey everyone, and welcome to Chairman of the Board. Today I'm counting down my top 10 party games. Now, funnily enough, I have kind of two spectrums of the board game hobby that I really enjoy. One is like strategic, heavy-ish Euro games, and the other is party games. I just really enjoy, light, whimsical games that you can have fun with big groups and just have a laugh with. So these are my top 10 games that I enjoy from that category. So let's get started at number 10. So at number 10, I have Telestrations. Now this is a game that anybody can play. Basically it's a drawing game where everybody's given a word, or you can make up your own words, and you have to kind of draw that as best as you can within this dry erase booklet. And then once you've drawn it, you pass your book over to the next person and they'll write what they think you've drawn. And then it will keep on going like that. So once they've written it, it'll pass to the next person and they'll draw what they've written. So it's almost like a Chinese whisper game, but with drawings. And the cool thing about this game is that, as I said, the rules overhead are next to nothing. And anybody can get into it. But it's just so funny the way that the drawings change as the books pass around, how people interpret your drawings. And the worse you are at drawing, the better this game is, because again, that kind of interpretation is more vague, and the outcome is so much more obscure to what the original concept actually was. It's a great time. It's so much fun. Guaranteed laugh out loud moments. It plays up to 12 players if you have the 12 player family or the big pack you can get. But yeah, a fantastic fun time. One that you'll probably play a couple of times and move on to something else, but it's quick, it's simple, and you know what, you won't even worry about the point scoring in the game, because it's just more of an activity than it is an actual game. So that's Telestrations, my number 10. At number 9, I have Spyfall, or Spyfall 2. Now this is an interesting game, quite unique in its feel. Basically, everybody is dealt out a secret roll card, and those roll cards will have either a location on them, such as like a garage or a bank or something like that. And one of those people who's playing the game will be given a spy card, so they won't know what the location is. Now, what's going to be the kind of flow of the game is that people are going to ask questions to one another about the location, such as, oh, what are the people wearing here? Or, did you have to pay to get in? Is it inside or outside? And the players are trying to answer those questions as vaguely as they can, but as accurate as they can, to kind of prove to one another that they are not the spy. Because the spy is trying to kind of intercept and work out where the location is. And if he does work out what it is, then he wins. So there's a lot of tension on the spy to kind of guess or just bluff their way through the game and make out to the other players that he's sure and confident where he is. Sometimes you'll be put on the spot. It's very tense if you are that spy, especially if you're asked one of the first couple of questions. But it's really funny. It's so quick. I think the game takes about 8 minutes to play. And it's just quite a unique concept. The tension's there. It's a good laugh. And yeah, it's just a nice, fun experience. That's Spyfall at number 9. At number 8, I have Dixit. Now, Dixit is a very widely, obtainable game. You can get this from almost anywhere. It's a nice, light, breezy game where everybody is dealt this hand of 6 cards, and those cards have very kind of fantastical, whimsical artwork on them. Now, there's going to be an active player, and he's going to make up a word or a phrase or a noise or a song or something like that relating to one of those cards. And then everybody else is going to also pick a card out of their hands relating to that phrase or word, whatever. And everyone's going to put those cards in the middle, mix them up, and then line them up. And then everybody is going to place voting markers on who they think the active player was. And then basically there's points distributed out depending on how people vote. So if people all voted for the active player, then he kind of receives no points and everybody else gets points. If only one person gets the vote, then I think the active player gets more points, and then everybody who received a vote also gets points. So you're trying to be accurate enough so somebody votes for you, but vague enough that not everybody votes for you. And that's pretty much just the game. It's so relaxing. You can, it's not competitive in the slightest. It really is a sit back, have a chat, have a laugh kind of game. Again, the rules overhead are next to nothing in this one. You'll pick it up after a turn or two. Again, it's just a chilled out, nice experience, and it just has a nice feel to it. So that's Dixit at number 8, sorry. At number 7, I have insider. Now, this again is a concept where almost anybody can pick up and has probably also always played it in their, in their childhood years. It's basically 20 questions, but with a gamery twist to it, because basically there's going to be a master. That master is going to basically draw a word out of this stack of cards. And basically the gist of it, that all the other players have to try and guess what that word is by asking questions, and the master has to give yes, no, or maybe answers to try and deduce what that word is. But the twist is that one of those players is an insider, and the insider actually knows what the master's word is, and he is trying to kind of subtly guide the other players to guess what that word is before the timer runs out. Now, the twist also to that is that if at the end of that timer, or when the word is guessed correctly, if the master guesses who the insider is correctly, then the master still wins. So again, it's that really nuanced kind of feel to the game where you have to be, you have to nudge your team in the right direction without blowing your cover of being the insider. That's pretty much the gist of the game. Again, it's so simple, but it works really well. That gamery twist just adds enough flavour to it. It comes in a lovely small box. It's from Oink Games. They make nice little games. Yeah, definitely want to check out if you like these simple, almost family inclusive kind of games. This is a really solid one. That's Insider at number 7. At number 6, I have Sheriff of Nottingham. Now, this is a slightly longer game. It plays 6 players. It's a bluffing game, essentially. So what you're trying to do is you are basically gathering these different ingredients and you are placing them into this little felt bag. And then one player is going to be the sheriff on that turn, and everybody is going to try and convince the sheriff of what they have inside their bag. And the sheriff is going to either let them through without checking the bag or decide to check what's inside the bag. Now, if you've lied about what's inside the bag and the sheriff catches you, then you have to pay the sheriff a fine. But if the sheriff correctly finds you lying, then, incorrectly finds you lying, he searches your bag, for example, and you didn't lie, then the sheriff has to pay you. So again, it's a pure, almost bluffing game. There's incentives to sneak things into the bags because there are counterfeit goods and they're worth a lot of points, but also if you get caught with them, then you also have to pay a bigger fine to the sheriff. So that's what the game's all about. It's about bluffing, trying to sneak goods through. It's just a really good time. If you do a bit of role playing, it adds the humour up. It's got a nice little set collection aspect to it. It plays relatively quickly, especially if you just play one round around the table. Yeah, it's a solid game, simple in its concept, but just that visceral tension's there, and it's just a nice jovial experience. That's Sheriff of Nottingham, a really solid game. At number 5, I have Wits and Wagers. Now, this is a really cool twist on the kind of trivia genre of games. Now, a lot of people don't like trivia games because they feel like they don't know enough, or someone in their group is normally very good on general knowledge and they run away with it. Now, this one is cool because all the questions are based on numbers, and it's a kind of guesstimation kind of game. So one might be, in meters, how tall is the Statue of Liberty? Now, nobody is going to know the exact answer of that, or well, they might do, but everybody's going to write the answer they think it is on a dry erase board and place them face down. And once everybody's done it, they're going to flip them over, and they're going to place all the different answers in numerical order on this almost like Las Vegas style betting board. And the kind of the extremities of those answers that people have given produce higher odds than the ones in the middle. So you're basically betting using these poker chips on who you think has guessed the right answer. So you don't even have to guess on your own. You can just purely think, I think, John will know the answer to this, so I will bet my money on him. And the cool thing is, as you accumulate more and more money, you can bet the money that you've earned. So, the risk really amps up as you go through it. It plays super quickly. Just the concept is a really fresh take on the trivia genre, as I mentioned. I love it. This is such a good game. It's so much fun. The dramatic loss of when you bet on something that you were confident on and you are wrong and you lose all your money. It's just really a good time. again, it's just a concept that's so clever, but so easy to understand as well. That's Wits and Wagers, an absolutely brilliant party game. At number 4, I have one from last year actually. This is actually, I think, the Spiel des Jahres winner last year. This is Just One. Now, Just One is an ultra simple, probably the simplest game, maybe apart from Dixit, on this list. All you have to do on this game is that somebody, well, first of all, it's a cooperative game, so everybody's working together. It plays up to 7 players. Everybody has a dry erase pen and a little kind of whiteboard slat. One person's going to draw a card, pick a number on that card, and that number is going to relate to a certain word. Now, they are not going to look on that card, but everybody else can see it. And they are all going to give a 1-word clue to help the person in the hot seat understand what that word is. But the twist is that for every clue that people give that's duplicated, they're taken out of the game. So say, for example, I don't know, my clue was chocolate. Somebody put, I don't know, sugar. Somebody put tasty. Somebody put brown. Another person put tasty. And then basically all the other players would show their answers to each other, and those 2 tasty answers would get wiped out because, again, they've been duplicated, and it'd only be left to see the 2 answers that are remaining. Now, that can really hinder your chances of finding it. There's almost that kind of thinking and double thinking what people are going to do, because you think, well, I'm going to write the obvious answer because somebody else is obviously not going to write that because they think I'm going to write the obvious answer, so they'll write something else. But then everybody is going to think that way, and then you still get duplicates anyway. So sometimes even if you are as obscure as possible, then you still get duplicates. So it's a very interesting activity. Again, I think you only play through about 13 cards and you assess how well you did against this kind of score chart. But again, such a low barrier to entry, a nice chilled out game. It's so much fun and just a real cool concept that I'm surprised nobody did before 2018. But yeah, a really solid game, so much fun, and I've really got a lot of mileage out of this one. A really solid game. That's Just One. At number 3, I have Decrypto. Now, Decrypto is a funny one because I can see why people wouldn't say this is a party game, because it does have more kind of gamery kind of tendencies to it. I think it's going to be a bit harder to introduce this to players who aren't used to games at all, or perhaps find it difficult to understand new concepts. But this is an absolutely incredible game. I consider it the kind of step up or the gamery version of Codenames. Now, Codenames is a game that most players can play, and most players have played, and if you're watching this video, you'll be very familiar with it. But Decrypto is an amped up version of that. So basically, the players in the game are going to be split into 2 teams, and those 2 teams are going to have a secret 4 words each. And all those 4 words are assigned with a number from 1 to 4. And then on your turn, or on the team's turn, basically there's like a master or a code giver, I don't know what they're called, draws a secret card, and that card will have a 3-digit number on them. And you are basically trying to write 3 words relating to your 3 words in that code order. Now, the trick is you've got to be vague enough so that the other team can't intercept and find out what your clue is, but you've got to be accurate enough so your own team understand what the order of the clues are. Now, obviously it's easier for your own team because they actually get to see the words you've written, but as the game goes on, you can really kind of deduce down what those words are and what the kind of theme of those words are, so the other team get more and more opportunity to intercept your answer. And basically, once you get 2 interceptions on the other team, then the team who intercepts will win. Also, you can very easily miscommunicate to your own teams because they might interpret your words differently than what you expected, and you can get miscommunication tokens, and that is another way you can kind of lose the game and hand the other team the victory. Now, I'm sure from what I explained there, it sounds more complicated than what it is, but once you get the kind of playing the game, you'll understand how it flows. It's actually surprisingly simple, but it is a game that's really kind of thought outside the box. I think the design is very clever. It's so original and just a really kind of really imaginative twist on this kind of word genre of game. And I really do, I do think this is an excellent design, and one I'd really recommend to players who maybe like the idea of party games, that maybe find them a bit too simple. So yeah, this is one definitely to check out. It's a brilliant game, and as I said, be a bit more cautious to introduce this one to kind of non-gamers or very casual gamers, because they might find the learning curve a little bit harder to understand than some of these others on this list. But I rank it that highly, and I think it does work really well as a party game under the right circumstances. So that's my number three, Decrypto. At number 2, I have When I Dream. Now, this is a game that plays up to 10 players. It's a beautifully produced game, has amazing artwork on them. So basically, this game works in this manner. So basically, there's going to be someone who's the dreamer. They're going to put a blindfold on so they can't see a thing. Then there's going to be a huge deck of cards in this really cool kind of plastic bed. All those cards have a word on them, and they're all random words, such as, I don't know, like zebra or ice or whatever, just random words. And then every player is going to be given a roll card. And those roll cards can be different things. They can be fairies, and the fairies are trying to get the dreamer to guess that word on the bed correctly. You've got the boogeymen, who are trying to get the dreamer to guess the word incorrectly. And you've got the sandmen, who are trying to keep that the correct and incorrect pile of cards balanced. So they're trying to flip between the boogeymen and the fairies in another way to explain it. Now, the game works on a timer, and basically people are going to give one-word clues as you fly around the table, and until the dreamer guesses what the word is, and then they'll secretly put the word on the correct side of the table or the wrong side of the table. Now, it's such a fun game, because the way the boogeymen can work together is really interesting, because it's hard for the dreamer to work out who's giving him the correct clues, who's giving the false clues. As I said, especially if the boogeymen are working well together by giving similar clues to each other. As the game goes on, you can maybe kind of deduce down who you think the boogeymen are, and just listen to the fairies. And that's basically how the game works. So the dreamer is going to get points for every one they've got correct, and they also get an opportunity to guess all the words that they guessed correctly at the end. And if they remembered them all, they get additional points. The boogeymen are going to get points for each one they got wrong, and the sandmen are going to get points depending on how balanced the piles are. But it's just such a fun game. It's so, there's no downtime whatsoever. It really does just fly around the table, always constantly being engaged with it. Just a really simple idea, but again, one that works brilliantly. Again, super low barrier to entry. It plays quickly. Everybody can get a go being the dreamer. And even at 8 players and everybody has a go being the dreamer, it's going to take half an hour to play. So that's at maximum player count. Just one that I definitely recommend you check out. As I said, the artwork on this game is absolutely fantastic. The production is brilliant, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. That is When I Dream. Again, a brilliant party game. My number 2. And finally, at number 1, I have a game that is pretty, it's not as well known as these others. It's a game called Tiefetashen, or most recently it's called Good Critters. Now, this is a game that plays 8 players. It really is a negotiation style game at the heart of it. Basically, one player is going to be the president, and they are going to draw a number of cards equal to the number of players in the game. And those cards all have a monetary value on them, from, I think it's like 1 million all the way up to $5 million or whatever it is. And the idea of the game is to make as much money as possible before the game ends. Now, the president is going to dish that money out how they see fit. They could give it all to themselves, or they could maybe balance it out as even as possible. But once they've settled on how they're going to split the money, depending on, after thorough and rigorous negotiation, that is, every player will basically play a card simultaneously. And everybody has the identical set of cards, and those cards are maybe agree with the president, which is basically vote to keep him in power, We've got the disagree with the president, and if there's a majority of disagrees, then the president will be kicked out of power, and the president will change to the next person in clockwise order who's voted no. You've got skim off the top of the treasury, which is going to give you another bit of money. But the trick to that is only the first player to do it in clockwise order gets to do it. So if two people do it, one person is going to get shafted and not be able to do that. You've got you can blackmail other people because you've got this own little private investigator you can put in front of people. And if you play that card and they don't kind of defend themselves against it, you get to take from their stack of money. Or they can kind of counter blackmail, and if they are being blackmailed, you will actually reverse the action and take money off the person blackmailing you instead. It's actually a very simple game mechanically. It's all about the negotiation. There is some absolutely rigorous, fun discussions that go into this. You've got some real backstabbing that goes into it. It is really a social experience. I really advise you to check out my review on my channel for T for Taschen, or Good Critters, whatever you want to call it, because I think you'll get a better feel to it for doing that. But yeah, this is one of the most interactive, one of the most fun games I've ever played. Again, it plays up to 8 players, so it's got a really solid player count to it. It can accommodate a lot of people. And again, it's just so much fun. And there really is nothing else quite like it on the market that I've played. I couldn't recommend this game enough. It is an absolute blast. I think the T for Taschen version of the game is pretty much impossible to come by now, or very difficult to come by. It's all been kind of reskinned in a kind of mafia, what do you call it, like a anthropomorphic animal style of game to be a bit more kid friendly, I guess, whereas the original version, the T for Taschen, is kind of a corrupt politician kind of theme. But either way, the game is identical, and you're going to have a lot of fun to play it if you've got the right group. I've yet to play this game with anybody who hasn't enjoyed it. Every single person has loved it, and people generally buy a copy for themselves when they have played it because they want to play it with their own group or their own family or something like that. It is that much fun, and it is that good. So yeah, definitely check that game out. So that concludes my top 10 party games. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope maybe you've heard something, at least something on here that you haven't heard of before and you want to check out. I've enjoyed talking about these games. I happily play these games anytime because they are all so much fun. And as I said, sometimes you don't want to play these strategic, brain-burnery style games. You just want to chill out with your friends and have a good time. And these games definitely do reflect that. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.